organization and how training and user adoption can be done for IFS. I would like to shortly introduce myself. My name is Aaron. I've been working with ClickLearn for the last 4.5 years. And I've been working with pre-sales, sales account management, and have helped roughly 150 IFS customers, starting from demonstration of the product, assisting them with trials, and also with contractual matters and also onboarding of those customers. I have my colleague Jenna here today. She will be presenting as well, and let's hear her and present herself.
Yeah. My name is Jenna. I'm a customer success manager here at ClickLearn. I'm newer on the team, so I'm close to a year here. I help with training and onboarding all of our new ClickLearn customers and just working with them through all phases of their project and implementation with ClickLearn. And yeah, really happy to have this time with you this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. But yeah, thank you for joining in and looking forward to it.
Thank you. Let's get started then. I would like to provide you a little bit information on the agenda today. I will be presenting details as the overview about ClickLearn, who we are, what we do, and what we stand for. We'll touch on the values we provide to our customers and the overall benefits. Jenna will be doing the more important and the more fun part. She will be demonstrating how ClickLearn works with IFS Cloud in the live environment. As of ClickLearn, we are supporting as of now above 700 customers. We do help partners and corporate customers that are using our solution to map their business processes, to capture the knowledge within the organization and convert all this into learning materials and user instructions. Through these 700 customers, we do assist and help above 8,000 authors. These are the super users that use our application on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to support and assist their organizations. The materials created with ClickLearn are reaching above 240,000 end users, and these are the users that make use of the instructions and refer to those instructions and consume those. A little bit on our relationship and partnership with IFS. We are partners with IFS since 2015. We are a global partner and also a platinum partner. So far, we have onboarded above 300 IFS customers, this being of any industry and any size of organizations. We have been awarded as the Software Partner of the Year in 4 consecutive years, and our headquarters are here in Copenhagen in Denmark. We have an office in the States and an office in India. When it comes to our mission, it's very simple and straightforward, and it is making you IFS customers more successful with all IFS platforms. I would like to provide you with a little bit information on the values we provide to the customers, but also to a little bit of a solution overview. In this part, I will start with the end user. What does the end user get by materials provided with ClickLearn? What are the benefits for them? And how can you, as an IFS customer, onboard your users quickly and efficiently? We all know that usually end users get some training materials. In many cases, those might be some Word documents or PDFs. Very rare also some videos that are very complicated and difficult to maintain. It takes enormous time. It takes enormous manual time to create those instructions. Authors need to take screenshots. They would need to add text. And of course, maintaining those is another challenge by itself. Of course, in that project, a lot of cases, different departments have to be involved and a lot of different resources have to be invested to create the instructions manually. We at ClickLearn automate this whole process and allow end users to get more formats. In total, they will receive 7 different formats, and all those formats can be translated into multiple languages. Of course, we have the common formats like Word, PowerPoint, PDF. There is also a web page with the hyperlinks to the instructions. Those common formats are very useful in different scenarios. For example, the PowerPoint being very useful and handy for classroom training scenarios where you would need to visualize the details in a different manner than a Word document. On top of the common formats, we do also deliver multiple training videos. The benefit about the training videos is they are interactive. They can be translated into multiple languages automatically, and they will be computer narrated in the local language if desired. We have three types of videos. The first one is the show me. This is simply explaining the process without any user interaction required. The other video is a try me video, which requires the user to interact in order to proceed with the instructions and the training materials. The try me video is actually a sandbox environment where the end user can experience the process without being in the live environment and the risk to damage something. The last video is the test me video. This video requires the user to complete specific steps while being measured and tested. It provides you with information how good the end user knows the process itself. All those formats that I mentioned are SCORM compliant, meaning that if you have a learning management system in your organization, you can use the materials created with ClickLearn and upload those to your learning management system. The final format we provide is the live assistant. We do deliver on-screen guidance inside IFS. So whenever the end user needs some assistance and needs some help to complete a process, they can activate the assistant, this small mascot, which will guide them step by step inside the live environment. The assistant, of course, is great help because the end user doesn't need to call help desk, or they don't even need to read through manuals in order to complete a process 100% accurately. So we've talked about the different formats and the benefits of those formats, but there is another critical element. How do you deliver those materials to the end user? How do you make them available and easily accessible for those? How do you create this environment where it's easy for users to consume and find what they actually need? We have a simple solution to that. And you will see during this demo today how it works. We do deliver a complete learning portal which you could decide to position inside or outside IFS platforms. This portal will allow you to host, to organize and control the materials, but also the onboarding and continuous learning of your end users. As mentioned, we've been focusing so far on the end users and the values for the end users, the different formats they receive and the way how you can help them being onboarded faster and more efficiently. I will hand now over to Jenna, and she will present how that exactly looks. How do the 7 different formats look like?
All right. Sorry, just took me a second there. So I'm hoping you can see my screen now. And what we are looking at here, exactly as Aaron said, we are seeing the end user's perspective of materials that have been created on ClickLearn and published. In this case, we've published it to our content cloud, which is available for all ClickLearn customers. But you can, of course, deploy it to a learning management system. It's SCORM compliant, as Aaron mentioned, or to a SharePoint site. There's a variety of ways that you can make this material available to your end users. So I'll just give you a quick tour of what we're seeing here. Everything here is totally customizable. So I've done kind of a generic IFS cloud branding for this portal, but all the logos, colors, fonts, icons, they can all match up with your brand identity and very customizable. And then in the upper right-hand corner here, we actually have the ability to toggle between different languages that the people who have authored the content on ClickLearn have chosen to make available to the end user. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it is really easy to retroactively go back and make your materials available in other languages as your company grows or changes, hires in new departments in other countries. So very easy to do all of that. And what I'm going to show you now is a single training material or a single process that's been captured on ClickLearn. So I'm just going to go and navigate to it here. I could also, of course, navigate if I was looking for a particular topic just by typing in my search bar. And what we can see here is the web version of our materials. So I'm just going to fold that away for a moment and scroll down so we can take a look at it. So the screenshots and the highlight areas, as well as this instructional text, is all automatically generated by ClickLearn when you make a recording, and you will see how that's done later on in our presentation. And then as an author, I've added in a lot of extra text and done some edits here, which again, we'll see more on later. But you can just see here, it's pretty easy to follow along this process, laying out exactly what the end user needs to do to read it. And then you can also do edits like putting images together in groups. You can make selections static or dynamic so that people aren't picking the same language every time they set up a supplier, things like that. And then the cool thing that I wanted to show you at the bottom here is that they do have the opportunity to submit feedback. The people who are actually learning from the materials that you've created. If there's something that they're not quite able to do or it looks a bit different in their system, they can actually, leave that comment to you, and it's all going to be consolidated for you in ClickLearn. So therefore, you can always make sure your content is up to date and being edited as necessary to stay relevant. So all your hard work goes to good use. And then we'll just come back up here again, and we'll see those formats that Aaron was talking about. So we have 7 different formats available. We have our 3 types of videos. We have 3 types of downloadable content, Word, PDF, PowerPoint, things that we're all familiar with. And then we also have a live assistant. So I thought I would just go through and quickly show you what these look like. And just really nice for the end user to be able to pick the learning format that best matches their learning style. So that's kind of the purpose of having all of this. And as you'll see later when we get into recording these, all of these outputs are just created from one single recording. So I'm just going to go ahead and show us the Show Me video. And we do have a digital voice that narrates this.
Use this guide,
which I'm hoping you'll be able to hear. Should be able to hear. So I'm just going to let this play, and it's just going to walk us through the process that we just kind of skimmed through.
to add a new supplier in IFS Cloud. Click on the Item Navigator menu. Click on the Navigation submenu Application Base Setup. Click on the Navigation submenu Enterprise. Click on the Navigation submenu Supplier. Click on the Navigation link Supplier. Click on the button, New. Click on the field Supplier. Enter Supplier. Click.
Okay, so we don't need to go totally through the whole video there, but you hopefully have an idea of what that format of video looks like. And I'm just going to exit that out and move on to the next iteration of the theme, which is our Try Me video. So this is very similar, but this time it's going to require some interaction from my end. So I'm just going to open that up.
Use this guide to add a new supplier in IFS Cloud. Click on the Item Navigator menu.
So the cool thing about this format here is that it is interactive, so it's waiting for me to click in this designated area to move ahead. So it's kind of giving me that sandbox experience, and as someone who's learning this process, I don't have to worry about if I'm making a mistake or gonna actually accidentally delete something. I can just simply practice all I want here. And if I click in the wrong area, it doesn't move ahead. So let's click in the right spot.
Click on the Navigation submenu Application Base Setup. Click on the Navigation submenu Enterprise. Click on the Navigation submenu Supplier.
So it's giving me a chance to kind of build up my muscle memory and experience with this process without actually going into the cloud or whichever IFS version that you're using. So I'm just going to exit out of that and show you the last variation on the video theme, and that's our Test Me video. And I'm just gonna disable the sound here. The purpose of our Test Me video is so people can apply their knowledge, get some feedback instantly how well they know this process. You can set it up so there are still subtitles. You can have a few more hints in your test if you want to, but I wanted to make it hard and see if I can really do this. So let's test this out here. And the cool thing is that if I don't know where to click, it is going to give me a hint. So let's say I get lost here, don't know what I'm doing, it is going to guide me along. So after 4 misclicks, you're going to be pointed in the right direction. So it's not going to let your user get confused or fall off in the process. And I'm just going to complete this so we can see the little report card that I get at the end here. So 88%, room for improvement, but I can actually see here everywhere that I have made some mistakes. So that red one in particular is where I was guided along and the highlight box appeared. The other ones, I maybe didn't click exactly on the right spot the first time. So as an end user, I know that I really need to kind of focus at the beginning of the process here. So really nice for me to be able to get that feedback. You can, of course, tweak your passing grades and all of the kind of all the data here to make it how you want it to be. So I'm just going to exit out of that and we can take a look. So I know we're all familiar with Word, PDF, and PowerPoint, but let's take a look at them anyways, just to see how it kind of translates over to this. So I'm taking a look now at our PDF version, of course, very similar to the Word version, based off the same template. Looks pretty similar to what we saw before when we first arrived on the page. So just a clear layout here. This can be a really nice format if someone maybe doesn't always have great internet access, or maybe they like to print things and have their own note-taking, stuff like that. Important to mention, you can have versioning here so people aren't using a really old version of a process if they do choose to save it locally. And also worth mentioning, you can select which formats you want people to have available. So if you don't want them to have downloadable content, then you can remove that. Or if you only want them to have downloadable, also an option. And now I'm going to show you PowerPoint. Again, this can be a really nice format if you're showing a conference room style presentation of a new process you're walking through, anything like that. So now we're getting that full screen like we did in the video. And we have our text in the bottom telling us what we should be doing. So nice way to cleanly introduce a new process or processes to a larger group. And then lastly, I'm going to show you our live assistant. So I'm just going to launch that here. And this is really cool because it's actually going to guide us around in our real cloud environment here. And again, as everything you've seen before, you can customize. You don't have to keep this mascot if you have one of your own or you want to remove it entirely. So I'm just going to follow the live assistant along, and it's going to wait for me to click in the right area. And this can be a really nice format if you are maybe covering for a colleague who's on holiday and they're always the one that does a certain task and you just need to go in, get it done. Can be also really nice to onboard new employees to a system if they've not been using IFS Cloud or something similar. So it can really handhold them through the process and make sure that they're going to be able to complete it accurately. I think it's just having a little think here. See, maybe refresh them here. So it might be the case here that my environment was just a bit slow to load. Let's see here, click on the button new. Okay, perfect. So I got a little bit out of sync there, but that's all right. Found our way back. So now it can walk me through, the steps I need to do and ensure that this is going to be done accurately and the person completing the task is going to have no no feelings of uncertainty as to whether they've gotten all the fields or things like that. So really, really nice format to have available there. So we've seen the 7 formats. We know what it looks like now, or what it can look like to your end user when it's deployed through the ClickLearn Content Cloud. And now I'm going to hand it back to Aaron for a little bit. Just give me 1 second to switch that over. And I'll be back in a few minutes to show you how we actually make these recordings.
Thank you very much, Jenna. Thank you for the details. So now that we've seen what the end user gets, what the values for them are, what the different formats are, we can focus on the next part. The next part would be how easy it is to create those materials. What are the values for the authors, for the people creating the instructions, but also for the organizations. And we will start here, of course, with the initial part being, just 1 second, sorry, I have something here on my screen. The creation of the instructions. In many cases, as mentioned, those are done manually. It involves different departments, and that creates an enormous amount of workload for many different departments, being training, IT, and so on. With ClickLearn, we automate this process, meaning that ClickLearn writes the instructions for you. What the author needs to do is simply walk through the process when they're in IFS. ClickLearn will document each single step, will capture each single interaction, and convert this to the high quality instructions you have seen just now. Of course, the instructions will be formatted to a corporate template, and they will match the corporate identity. When we ask our customers about the benefits of this, of course, it is time saving, and customers can save up to 80% compared to manual methods. The next part for the authors and the organization is related to keeping the instructions updated. We see that this can be also very challenging. It's being done manually again. The authors need to go and find the changed areas. They need to make new screenshots, update the text, and many more manual details. And we unfortunately also see a tendency where companies potentially neglect this part of updating instructions, which of course then leads to end users making use of outdated instructions. We automate this process as well. ClickLearn recognizes the changes in your solution. So what the author needs to do simply is to click on a replay button. ClickLearn will stop at the changes. They can update the steps and simply save and produce the new version. Talking about new versions, the replay functionality will find the differences between the versions in your environment and update the instructions automatically. Of course, this is ideal for several different scenarios, and one of those is mentioned when you're updating from a version to another in IFS, or of course, if the business is asking you for a modification or change of the process. We've talked a lot about our relationship partnership with IFS and also how our platform supports IFS, but of course we also see that many organizations have different platforms in their portfolio. And with ClickLearn, cross-system instructions are fully supported, meaning that if your process leaves IFS, ClickLearn will follow and will create the very same high-quality instructions in those environments. Giving you an example, you're working in IFS, you need to open and start doing something in an Excel file, you key in some data, save and close the Excel file and move back to IFS. All this interaction will be captured and will be actually added to your process. We can do this with the help of our smart connectors, and we have connectors for Office platforms, SharePoint. We do have a connector for third-party Windows and web applications. We do also cover the Dynamics range and Teams, for example. And one final detail for the authors. How easy it is to implement ClickLearn, how easy to get started. First of all, there is no complexity and there is no infrastructure when you start using ClickLearn. There is no server-side installation. There are no API integrations as such. We have a streamlined onboarding program that helps the authors to get started. We do, of course, help and support with the configuration of the solution. And very importantly, we do train and retrain staff at no cost. So whenever someone joins the project or the team, we will make sure that those authors will be able to use ClickLearn as fast as possible. We do, of course, also support with template customization and very importantly, with any questions regarding the deployment of the materials, be it using our content cloud, as you've seen now, where the portal can be hosted, or using your own environment, for example, SharePoint, intranet, or in a learning management system. Having summarized the details and values for the authors and the organization, I will hand back to Jenna and she will show you how exactly an author uses ClickLearn and how easy it is to create all these 7 different formats with the solution.
All right, thanks. Just gonna get the screen back here. All right, there we go. All right, so you should be able to see my screen now. And what we're looking at here is inside of ClickLearn Attain. So we've seen it from the end user's perspective. Now we're seeing it from an author. And I'm actually inside of the project that we saw the published result from. So we can see the create a new supplier in here that we were just looking at previously. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new recording here so you can see what that looks like. And I'll just call this add custom customer filters. And here we go. And I'm going to record it in English, and then I'm just going to click next, and we're going to see ClickLearn minimize. I already have my IFS cloud environment open there. And then on the right-hand side, we're going to see the ClickLearn recorder come out. So I'm just going to go ahead and start recording here. So all I'm going to do is press record, and then you're going to notice when I move my cursor around, I'm getting this green rectangle that's following me. And it's not recording my voice or a video or anything like that, or even the speed that I do this. It's only recording the clicks that I make or the keyboard entry that I make. So I'm just going to go ahead and start doing some clicks here so we can capture a little process. So open up my settings menu here. And let's go into our customer database for my demo system, of course. And I'll just do a simple process today of showing how you could change custom filters to sort your custom. So just make some clicks in here so we have some data to work with. And then simply apply. And we can call that our process. I'll finish it off with going back to the home page. Can be a good general best practice to follow. And I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to stop my recording here. So we've captured 14 steps actually, which is great. And I'm just going to stop recording. And I'm actually just going to show you what that looks like in a preview. So while it's kind of loading here, it's getting all of those 7 formats available. So we have add custom customer filters here. I'm going to preview that so we can kind of see what it would look like. And then I'm also going to show you now a little bit about our translation functionality called replay. So we can see here we have our clicks are in here. Let's take a look. And it's looking good. Simple recording to work with here. And it looks like it's captured everything as expected. And now let's take a look at the German version here. So of course, as you saw, I did record that in English. So what we can see now is we have only the text that ClickLearn generated that is now automatically translated into German. And then with the images, it's actually asking us to run this replay functionality. So right now we're looking at a partially complete German version. And I'm going to show you how you could have that fully translated. So I'm just going to exit out of this. I'm going to go back to my cloud environment here. I'm going to change this into German. And since I don't speak any German and I want to get that done efficiently, I'm just going to run the replay with ClickLearn and have it recapture those screenshots in German. So just going to access that here. And we're also going to get into how you can do your edits and all of that stuff, but I thought I would just start by showing you this. All right, so once again, ClickLearn is going to minimize here. We're going to see the recorder coming out on the right-hand side. And I'm going to go ahead and run this replay. And basically how this works, as I said, it does it all automatically. So it's telling me now to keep my hands off. Don't touch the keyboard, don't touch the mouse. And it's going to run through here. And basically, it's just going to recapture everything that we've done. So I can see my environment, of course, is now in German. And it's going to recapture my steps here. So we'll have that complete translation. And then it's just going to finish off here and we can take a look at the end result. Just take a second. All right, so it completed successfully. And let's take a look now in the same preview mode. So our English version, of course, remains unchanged, but we're hoping our German version here is now fully complete. So here we go. So now we have the full German translation. Our screenshots are now in German, and we have moved through this whole process. So if I wanted to show a German colleague how to do this, I would now have the full process complete for them, along with, of course, the videos, which we saw before, the Word document, PDF, all of that, the live assistant. Now those are all going to be fully in German, and the videos will be narrated by a German voice, digital voice. So pretty cool functionality to have. But I'm just going to exit out of this now, and I'm going to show you what type of edits we can do, because of course you've captured the process, but we always want to do add in some of our own notes of our own, see what we can do to make it as concise and clear as possible for the end user. So here we have our kind of a blank slate. This is what we got from our recording so far, and it's looking good. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and show you some of the basic editing functionalities we can do. So I've got 14 steps here. I usually like to start by adding in an introduction. So I'll just add that in here as kind of like a header. These are really nice things to add in to make the content more palatable. You also start to build out a table of contents. So really helpful for the end user to be able to jump through. And I'm just going to insert as well a content block. So this can be text, it can be pictures. And I'm just going to go ahead and write like a little introduction. Some people like to lead with a small story of a scenario where you would use the process. Others just write the purpose of it. So I'm just going to say, use this guide to change filter settings, something like that. Of course, you guys could come up with something much more creative, but we'll go with this for now. And so now already we've made this content a little bit friendlier to our end users. so they know exactly what they're getting into. And now we can look at ways that we can perhaps make this content more concise. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and I can see now already we have this list of options. And as you remember from the original content we were looking at the beginning, I talked about how we can group things together. So since these all appear next to one another, they're pretty simple formats. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight them like so, and I'm going to turn them into a group. So like this, and I can just call it perhaps filters, since that's what we're looking at here. And I can save that. So now I've taken these 4 steps and turned them into one. So that's a really handy tool to use. You know, if you have a long form and it's like name, phone number, email, that type of information, I'm sure there's a lot of scenarios you can think of with your own daily processes that you could kind of condense down like that. Makes the image small as possible. We can, of course, go in and edit the image like so, just so that it looks in line with the other ones if we so choose. Another functionality you have is that you can blur areas. So if you were working with real customer information, you could, of course, blur it out like that. Or as you can see here, if you have something running on the side, such as a webinar, which I'm sure you wouldn't have while you're recording, you can simply blur things out like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that so you can see. So the image shape should be different, and we should have a blurred area. So there we go. Really easy to do that and make a few customizations. So another really common thing that you might run into is if you are making a recording and you make a mistake. So maybe you include something that you actually don't really need, or you forget to include a really important part of the process. It's really easy to delete things. So I can simply delete a step like so. Or if I'm not really sure if I want to fully delete it, you can hide things. So I can, go to my inclusion options here, and I can just say, remove that from everything for now. It's like hiding a slide in PowerPoint. I can always bring it back later. There are scenarios where you might choose to do that instead. And another, of course, really common edit that people want to do is to be able to add their own text here. So if I have a lot more context, because of course this is very directional and easy to follow, this automatically generated text, but I might have some of my own notes that I want to put in here. So let's just say I want to add in a note here. I'm going to add a content block like we saw before. And I'm just going to change where it should be displayed. So I'll just say here is my important information. And I'm just going to save that. So in this way, you can put in all of your thoughts or extra information. You can hyperlink out to another resource if they need to, look up the supplier number or something like that. Really easy to put in your extra information like that. And in the same way that it's simple to delete things, it's also very simple to include things that you might have missed. So let's say there was a step in between these two. I could simply insert and record a new step or a new series of steps. And that's another way that you can keep your processes updated. So maybe a year down the line or a few months down the line, what you want out of a process changes. Really easy to keep it updated that way. So we've seen that we can add text, delete things, change things. We can translate quite easily. I think the last sort of thing to point out here, of course, there are a lot of other editing functionalities, which we'd be happy to go into in more detail in a private demo or something like that with more time. The last thing I'll show you here is just we do have an editor specifically for the video formats and for the live assistant outside of our specific written editor. So what we can do here is if we have something, we want to make a variation between what's shown in our videos and what we have in our written content, because different different instructions lend themselves better to different mediums. So if I've written a long introduction and I don't want it to be in my video, but I do want it in my written content, I can have some variation there. So there are times when it's just maybe too long for the digital voice to read a long introduction you've written or something like that. So then you can have it discluded from one format and included in another, which is something that you would just probably want to do from time to time. Or you can add in something to one format and not have it in the other ones. Yeah, but that's the quick overview of some of the edits that we're capable to do in here. And of course, I'm always happy to expand on that more if you want to reach out to Aaron or I. And that's how you would go about making a recording. So as you can see, the time it takes to record and do some edits, it's quite quick. And yeah, thanks for listening to that. I'm just gonna hand it back to Aaron here in a second.
Thank you very much, Jenna. Very informative. I would like to share my screen and present one final value. And this value is actually a little bit linked to the replay functionality you have seen a couple of minutes ago. The fact that we can replay processes, the fact that ClickLearn recognizes the changes in your environment and the data in your environment allows us to deliver accurate, repeatable, and high-quality automated process testing. Basically, by using our application, you can decrease the time to go live in your project and using test automation. I will very shortly touch on the features. We will not be presenting this functionality today because it requires much more time than we have, but please feel free to reach out later on if you would like to find out more about the automated process testing. And I also wanted to mention, if you have any questions around what you've seen so far, be it about the formats or about how you create instructions, please write those questions in the chat. And we will be gladly answering those later individually and immediately. Going back to the automated process testing and the features, there are a couple of interesting functionalities here. First of all, repeatable processes. You can use any ClickLearn recording into a repeatable process and ask the application to repeat the functions again and again and again. Of course, you can take control over taste data, meaning that you can simulate the creation of thousands of records in your test environment. Another important part is the fact that you can use complex processes. You can easily combine several recordings created with ClickLearn and build a very complex process that you would like to test. And of course, you can also build different scenarios based on use cases or localization. Again, reach out, please, if you want to find out more about automated process testing. Now, to wrap up the webinar today and to provide you final details on the benefits we provide, we have mapped 3 different departments that benefit enormously from using the application. First of all, it is IT, of course. IT likes the application because we deliver a 360-degree solution. They can map many technologies, but also they can support many different projects. We reduce help desk calls and actually enormously, and everything is automated. Actually, IT's involvement in many projects is minimal, almost none. The user likes the output of the application because we do support any learning style. We allow the end user to consume the information and learn the way they prefer, be it by reading a Word document or a PDF, or maybe listening or watching a video. And of course, there is another group that might want to try out things directly, and they can do that in a safe sandbox environment using the Try Me video. The instructions will be always uniform. No matter who the author is, they will have the very same look and feel. And the end user will be able to immediately navigate through the instructions within the set portal structure. Finally, for the end user, the assistant, the live guidance in the application. This is very useful for them, especially in case they are new to the organization and the processes within this or specific organization, or they are new to the platform or the platform's version. And finally, looking at the ROI for the organization, we do reduce implementation risks and support high process accuracy. Due to the fact that everything is actually created easily, it is updated easily at any time, being delivered in the very set structure and easily accessible for the end user. And of course, the automated process testing allows us to help these two areas. And finally, and very importantly, we do support rapid user adoption and fast onboarding of the end users. I would like to give you a final step before we close the webinar. We will gladly provide potential customers with a free trial license. There is a training linked to this license where we would like to actually give the potential testers the basics of how to use the application. This way you are able to test what we've been presenting here today in your own environment and experience how it is actually to work with our account management team, customer success team, and also the support team. This was all from our side for today. Thank you very much for participating. We look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We will gladly answer those questions and wish you a great day ahead. Jenna, thank you very much as well.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.